Hello everyone and welcome to the Master of Marketing Information session here at Macquarie. My name is Vishna and I'm a student ambassador and I will be moderating the session today. So today we're going to take you through the Master of Marketing program at Macquarie, career opportunities and share some insights from our industry partners. So today we're lucky to have three guest speakers. We have Professor Aaron Ocass, who is the head of the Department of Marketing at Macquarie Business School. We have Rochelle Tognetti, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at Deloitte Australia, and Louise Cummins, who is the Marketing and Digital Innovations Director at H&R Block Australia. So without further ado, I'd like to pass over to Professor Ocass to tell you about the Master of Marketing program.
Thanks, Vishna. I'd like to spend just a couple of moments talking through the key features of the program. It's a relatively new program at Macquarie University. We've invested heavily with industry over the last couple of years in terms of getting a key industry focus. This particular degree is what we would call a pre-experience degree. And it's really tailored for those students who are looking to advance their career, moving up from the entry-level units and work areas in marketing, to those that have little experience in marketing but want to start a marketing career. So it's really tailoring to those upskilling and starting career type of students. The program really has 5 key particular features that are very important. It's really one of the premier programs in Australia. It's recently been ranked in the QS rankings number 19. It's accredited with the Australian Marketing Institute, which is the oldest and most prestigious marketing institute in Australia. And the Department of Marketing is a strategic partner with the Australian Marketing Institute also, which offers unique benefits to students studying in this particular program. The program has a very strong focus on combining functional knowledge with critical skills, critical thinking. And it's really aimed at those who have a limited marketing background in the broader sense in terms of marketing management and marketing strategy. The program undertakes various modes of delivery, including face-to-face, purely online, and what we refer to as blended mode, where students study part of the unit online and also come to campus for those on-campus experiences. The program is really quite unique in the Australian context and even globally in the sense that it is a very practically oriented program, heavily oriented to application, building a portfolio for students to demonstrate to employers when they graduate what skills and knowledge they've acquired in their portfolio. So we really build on that key skill of equipping students with industry relevant experience. And we do have a lot of industry partners that come in and co-teach many of our units and provide live cases. Recently, for example, one of our industry partners developed a new product and our team in the strategic marketing unit launched that product for the organisation, and one of the students in the program was employed subsequently by that business. So the connection with industry partners in our classes is very heavy and very unique in Australia. It also uses some of the most highly qualified marketing staff in the country, all PhD graduates, all very highly research active and engaged heavily in consulting with industry. So these are some of the unique features of the Master of Marketing program. Every student that comes into the Master of Marketing does 4 core units. The key unit launching this study program is a unit called Marketing Theory, which builds back on where has marketing come from, what are its key underpinning theories, and how can those theories be understood in the context of building strategy, understanding the dynamics of industry, and where those theories may or may not work. We then move students through into an advanced understanding of consumer behaviour, in other words, consumer psychology, marketing research with a very application-based approach in terms of learning the key skills for designing and implementing marketing research, and capping off with the capstone unit on strategic marketing management. The program also has quite an extensive suite of electives, and this is where students can start to think about their career opportunities and combine those electives into a unique value proposition that they can go out to their employers or potential employers with. Focusing on things like a heavy focus on digital and social media marketing, a heavy focus on business to business, new product commercialization, and strategic sales. Coming soon, we'll also have marketing supply chains and other suites of electives such as design thinking. So the offerings are quite extensive and allow students to combine those electives into a unique package. Potential professions that students we've discovered over the last year have moved into and our industry partners indicate our graduates are suitable for range from marketing management positions in medium and large enterprises. Because we have a specialisation in the communications area, we also see students moving off into communications specialist domains in the advertising, social media, etc. We also identify a very strong focus on branding. And the project I mentioned before, the student was recruited specifically because of their strong focus on strategic branding and new product development and commercialization. So the range of career options available to students is quite extensive. And these are areas where industry indicate to us the program meets those specific skill sets. Back to you, Vishna.
Thank you, Aaron. So I'd like to pass over now to our industry partners, Rochelle and Louise, who will share some insights on their experience in the industry and some tips. So over to Rochelle and Louise.
Thanks, Vishna, and hello, everybody. So as you said up front, my role today is as CMO of Deloitte Australia, and I've been in that role now for 23 days exactly. So it's pretty fresh. But let me take this opportunity to give you a bit of an insight into how I landed in this position. And like many people, my career path has been anything but linear. So I've been in marketing now for over 20 years, and about half of my career has been in the business to consumer space and the other half in the business to business. I started my career way back when with a BA in tourism management. I wanted to travel the world. I was passionate about ecotourism and thought this would be a good place to start my studies. I studied and then went and travelled the world for 1.5 years and got an absolute taste for travel, and career went to the wayside. I made my first choice of where I wanted to work based on how I was going to travel. And that was with an online company called travel.com.au. I looked at the opportunity and thought, nah, this will get me some cheap travel around the world. But what I didn't actually quite appreciate was I was coming into an incredibly disruptive and exciting industry. It was the period when the dot-com boom was exploding. Everyone was saying you couldn't possibly replicate a travel agency experience online, and travel.com.au took on that challenge, and I came just at the right time. And before I knew it, I got swept up in the excitement of the buzz of the industry. My marketing experience in the BA came into fruition, and I helped with development of newsletters. I went back and studied and learnt HTML code, helped build websites, progressed on to work through most of the departments there, and ultimately ran our website and newsletter program. So such an exciting start and unexpected start to my career. I then continued in the online travel space and moved over to London and worked with one of the largest travel wholesalers over there, a company called Ski World. Again, working in the online space, but actually this time this role offered me the opportunity to expand out my marketing skill set and actually played a very significant role across all aspects of the P's of the marketing mix, from price, product, promotion. So we developed up holiday packages, we determined the pricing, we produced the brochures, etc. It was at this point in my career that the penny really dropped, that I was loving marketing. So I took the opportunity to go back and restudy. and really encourage everyone to keep open to where you continue your studies. At this point, I went back and studied at the Chartered Institute of Marketing in London and produced my marketing qualifications, also went on to do a certificate in digital marketing to really complement the experience I'd developed on the job. I then returned back to Australia, continued online, and this time moved into online wine. Again, quite an interesting and disruptive space as companies such as Foster's grappled with how you take what has been classically a consumer channel through retail or direct marketing and move that online. So a really fantastic few years with Foster's and Cellar Masters developing their online service offering. And then I got a tap on the shoulder to move to Deloitte, a company I knew very little of, was in an industry that I didn't know much about either, but the opportunity was really interesting. It was an opportunity to set up a digital marketing function in Deloitte. And as they say, the rest is history. The next 13 years, I continued to take on all sorts of roles through the company, mainly in the marketing department, and broadened out my experience beyond digital into marketing leadership, and ultimately moved into the CMO role, which I'm in today. So leading a department of 200 marketers in Australia, marketers, business development professionals, and then 30 people in India. So an absolutely fascinating time to be taking on a CMO role in the midst of the pandemic, in a period where our client and customer needs are so rapidly changing and becoming more complex and diverse. An interesting period for employees, for clients and society at large. So that in a nutshell is my career and what has taken me to the role today. Back to you, Vishna.
Thanks, Michelle. That was some really fascinating insight, and I think a really interesting journey from starting out in travel now into the CMO of Deloitte. Louise, would you like to share your industry experience with us?
Sure. So hi everyone, my name is Louise. I, similar to Rochelle, actually, I started off doing a BA and started doing applied mathematics and economics and psychology, and that all led me into really wanting to actually get into marketing, and so then started my further education into marketing. I love marketing. I've been in marketing for over 20 years. It's taken me, like Rochelle, all around the world. I've worked in 12 different countries. I've worked in so many different industries, which has just been amazing in terms of adventure. I've worked from MGM Studios to Channel 7 to Optus, 3M. And the thing I love about it is it doesn't matter, and World Vision, I lived in Cambodia working for World Vision. I even did a market research project working on a biofuels project in Vietnam. And the thing I love about marketing and the skills that you will develop is that you can actually go into lots of different industries. You can have lots of different experience. But more interestingly, you can actually really shape businesses. And that's what I've really been drawn to. I've also been very much drawn to roles that have tech and innovation based, similar to Rochelle. And that's been something. Now my current job is in H&R Block, and I've been there for 3 years, and I was brought on to help with that digital transformation. How do we build a 50-year-old company that was bricks and mortar, and how do we actually help with that digital transformation and bringing the marketing aligned with that digital transformation? So it's been a great journey for those that are just starting it. I highly recommend marketing in terms of a career and a really fantastic opportunity, what it's brought me, and I hope it brings to you too.
Great, thank you both for your insights. I think we're going to now move on to the Q&A portion of today. So Rochelle and Louise, I'm largely going to direct these questions to you due to your experience in industry. So the first question we'd like to ask is, so we've spoken a little bit today about digital marketing, especially in the times of the pandemic. Can you tell us a little bit about how marketing technologies in a broader sense, so platforms such as Salesforce, are transforming digital marketing?
Those platforms, so we're actually just partnered with Salesforce. So for us, it's about how do we actually do much better journey segmentation and actually really understand our clients a lot better. So in terms of the transformational journey, where marketers are much more connected now with understanding the full CX of our clients, customer experience, and actually understanding what are the key drivers within each of those different segments. So that's been a really interesting time for us. So we actually do use Salesforce as part of that, and we're building out much more client journeys, marketing automation, and we're also leveraging Salesforce more in their AI. We're going to be looking at actually how that actually works in terms of then customer contact centres and customer experience. We also are using even AI in the States, in which we're looking at what does that actually look like here in terms of predictive modelling around actually even the tax prep process. So in answer to your question, those type of platforms are changing the way that marketers are doing things. We're getting much more connected with our audience and being able to tailor both messaging and products for those audiences.
Great, thank you. Rochelle, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, it's such an exciting time, isn't it, Louise? And AI, MarTech, I mean, it's just exploding. Prior to this CMO role, I was working as the COO of our marketing department. So I was a little bit step back from the industry. And just as I've stepped back in, the explosion in options is just mind-blowing. I think I read the other day there's over 8,000 MarTech platforms available. I mean, it's truly incredible. And I'm very thankful to be at a place like Deloitte, where I've got subject matter experts just a call away. But it's a challenging landscape to navigate, but I think there's some incredible opportunities in there. And picking up some of the points you made, Louise, around AI really excites me. We've had a lot of success around chatbots, and I'm seeing some great stuff with chatbots out in the market. And I think naturally there's a portion of people that are concerned about AI and other cognitive technologies taking from opportunities for marketers, but I see it very differently. I see this as creating opportunities, and often where chatbots are being used and where we've seen great success is those repetitive tasks that maybe for a marketer are not so engaging. And it's great to have the technology manage that, to manage that consistent experience for your clients and customers, minimize the risk, and through predictability, hopefully inform marketers and customers on better product choices. So really cool stuff happening. Love the Nike shoe bot for the sneakerheads. That's some really good stuff there out through the retail space. Sephora, Macy's, they're doing some great stuff with chatbots internally. So we're an internal marketing department. We support over 10,000 client-facing practitioners, so consultants and the like that work in the industry. So you can imagine for topics such as brand, we get inundated with questions, and we've developed a chatbot that we've playfully called Mark Brandy to manage some of those questions internally, and that again has allowed the brand team to focus their time and effort on other areas that are more additive, that play to their strengths in terms of the human aspects of empathy and storytelling and compassion. So it's a really exciting period, and I think as AI and the MarTech space explodes, it represents incredible opportunities for marketers, but you need to spend the time to understand it and really figure out how to navigate it and understand what is additive versus just a ticket to play.
Thank you both. So with the increase in technology and AI and chatbots, as we've been speaking about, you've both touched on technology connecting you to your customers and helping with branding. So people say the future of marketing and business in general will be more diverse and inclusive and connected. So now with this in mind, what would you say are the marketing trends that will dominate in the next 2 to 5 years?
So from my side, it's quite fascinating, actually. There's a big move to actually change the marketing titles to MarTech. I think that's been the biggest change in terms of marketing, is our role in that tech and digital transformation play. So I think in the next 3 years that will just continue even more broadly, because there is such a divergence between offline and online, and the whole customer journey, which I've already spoken to. So in my case, in the retail, so we class ourselves more in retail financial services, my big trend in our industry is what we call it omni-channel, and different people call it different things, but how do you actually move a traditional bricks and mortar retail business to actually being more digitally enabled, and then how do you actually help with that hybrid function? So whether the retail offices are actually going to be more hybrid and they can be used more virtually, what's the role of video within that? So for me, that is actually going to be a big part of my next 3 to 5 years, is that moving from kind of offline to more online. But also at the same time, with all of this, we talk about AI and all these great technologies. At the heart of it is the client. So if we don't really understand what is motivating the client, and that's why I love what Dr. Cass is doing here, is you have to understand the client. So technology brings us only so far. At the end of the day, we actually have to make sure that what we're delivering to the client by way of technology is connecting to the essence of what they need, and actually will help motivate them to either adopt a new service or change behaviour. So those would be the key things that I'm working on. One is the omni-channel, and the other is developing tech that actually still keeps the client centric.
I couldn't agree with you more in terms of client centricity. I mean, that is absolutely what it's all about. And I'm glad you say the next 2 to 5, because I don't know how I'd possibly predict the next 12 months. But if we say 2 to 5, it's even then it's quite tricky to predict, because indeed, as we talk about client centricity, it's really determined around how our clients or customers' buying behaviours are going to change. And we're seeing such an interesting period right now where buying behaviours have changed as a reflection of health and government restrictions versus economic drivers. And we haven't seen that before, and how that might play out longer term is really interesting. But I suppose from my perspective, if we anticipate a level of normality returning over that period, what I'd expect to see is continued augmentation and diversity of marketing teams. So we talked about chatbots earlier, but how you'll bring technology into your workforce of the future, how we'll use contractors and on-demand skills to manage vulnerable and varying fluctuations in demand for skills, and where we're going to find talent. What I love about the disruption that COVID has caused is it's really opened our mind to where talent can be located, and I think we've definitely got most of our people located in 2 of the biggest and most expensive cities in Australia, and I think the opportunity to find talent in all sorts of locations and getting that diversity of thinking together will be such a great hot pot for innovation. Marketing activity must be linked to ROI. That's going to be more and more demanded of us. We have to be clear on the activity that we're driving, what tangible, measurable impact that's having, greater proximity to revenue and growth. I think that's now mandated, and we've got the tools available to us to do that in a better way than we ever had before. Our brands, and I think we've touched on this a little bit, the brands you work for and the brands we work for have to be purpose-led. There has to be trust and authenticity behind your brand. Consumers and clients are far too smart now. They'll see through thinly veiled brands. Trust, incredibly important. How we've talked about the explosion of data available, but how you're using data in a respectful way, how you're respecting privacy, also going to continue to be incredibly important. Final couple I'd probably cite, and there's many to choose from, but the final couple I'd cite, again, picking up on a theme, data information-based marketing. So connecting your MarTech platforms and looking at the full client journey to inform better choices around client and customers, also to inform business strategy using the intelligence that we're seeing. And then finally, unleashing creativity on that client and customer experience, balancing that tension between human-centered design and design in the digital and virtual world. I think that's going to be a real trend and a theme for the coming years. Back to you, Vishna.
And
Great, thank you. Sorry.
Vishna, sorry, I was just going to say one thing that I think I totally love everything that Rochelle's speaking to, and I just also wanted to add a small piece which is also around the media. So there is such a diversity now with the media, and we're seeing that in terms of video on demand. We're seeing a move more to broadcast on demand, and what does that look like, and much more around sort of what's happening with YouTube, TikTok, influencers, social media. So that was one thing I forgot to touch on, is in terms of that tech space, we can't underestimate how much actually the media landscape is actually changing from an advertising perspective, which I know is one of the components within this course, and that is actually an incredibly important part as marketers to actually understand that and being ahead of the trend.
Just make a comment on what Rochelle and Louise are commenting on there, in the sense that one of the major challenges for marketers over the next couple of years is what Louise was saying, which is sort of this omni-channel presence that organisations are trying to push for. But the challenge there is balancing it in the sense of the customer moving across those multiple touch points and a consistent brand experience. So Rochelle mentioned the brand experience higher purpose. The challenge for companies is that research shows that 75% of consumers want a brand to do more than just sell them a product. So they're aspiring for higher purpose, but that's challenging in an environment where the brand manager, the strategic manager of the organization, is challenged that much of the brand purpose or brand meaning is not created by the brand itself. It's created out in the marketplace by the consumers on social media. Companies are jumping in increasingly, like the Gillette campaign that spoke about the best a man can be, and it was a big tragedy for the organisation. There was a lot of backlash against that. So that brand campaign got out of control because they couldn't control the social media. So the challenge is, as customers increasingly generate brand meaning, organisations are in grave fear of losing that meaning and higher purpose themselves. So it's not the technology that should be driving the marketer. The marketer should be driving the application of technology. And that's where appropriate training and experience will come into play as we start to see where consumers are really trying to go with their brand experience. So I think Rochelle and Louise are picking up on some really engaging subject matter that many marketers and organisations are struggling with at the moment.
Wow, thank you. I think that was a really useful insight. And I'm glad we've touched on these things like data skills and diversity of thinking and creativity, and actually applying technology to ensure that your brand is upheld by consumers rather than you driving the technology. So with these skills in mind, let's turn our attention to people who are looking to get into the industry. So in particular for our audience, if they're looking to upgrade their marketing skills, can you give us some tips on what skills employers are looking for in future marketing? And are there any transferable skills that are necessary so people can actually switch into the career later on?
Yeah, I said it before and I'll say it again. I think it's such an exciting time to be embarking on a career or progressing a career in marketing. I think as a leader and someone that is constantly looking out for talent, what I'm looking for in a marketer today is so vastly different to what I was looking for in a marketer even a couple of years ago. My personal approach to and my mindset in terms of the right talent for our organisation has just grown significantly. So when you look at skills and attributes, I think most certainly there's some baseline skills in terms of understanding data, numerical literacy, commercial acumen. More and more I'm looking for people that understand how to take marketing activity and drive to a commercial outcome. Client service, facilitation, project management, they're also really important. Absolutely, we talked about it before. You have to understand digital marketing. That's an expected now in any marketer. It still kind of makes me laugh that we refer to digital marketers and marketers. I think any marketer that I'm hiring for, I'm expecting to have foundational digital marketing skills. But beyond the skills, a lot of what I'm looking for is their soft skills and their approach, their curiosity to work, their approach and innovation in terms of solving for complex problems. I'm looking for people that are coachable, that can take their diverse background of experience and education, but can take on board coaching and grow and develop and respond to that coaching.
So from my side, I echo about Rochelle's comment about curiosity. That's one thing that, I thought that if I can leave the audience with is, I think that's one of the key things to a successful marketer is being curious and keeping on evolving and investigating and understanding how things are working and your client. I think I've actually done personally 4 different courses even this year alone. So I'm a big advocate for continuing education and really keeping on leaning onto that personal development. Things constantly change, and that is the exciting part about marketing. It also can be a bit daunting, but so when I'm employing somebody similar to Rochelle, unfortunately at this stage probably the only thing that I have to have is digital marketing experience. I like what Rochelle was saying. Actually, now it's just going to be it's just going to be marketing, and they have to have had digital experience rather than digital marketing. But that's probably one thing that's a mandatory for in my field. But then I'm really just looking for people that have really good insight, and again, to Rochelle's point, are coachable and are interested and want to progress and have a passion, because you can't do anything if you're not actually passionate about what you're doing. So that's what I'm looking for when I'm recruiting people. Obviously, very much if they've got some qualifications like postgrad qualifications in marketing, absolutely would be coming to the top of the list. So very excited about what Dr. Okas is actually doing with this program. So that would definitely put the people in good stead when I'm actually employing them as well.
It's interesting, actually, as you're talking, Louise, I was just reflecting on my team and thinking about the diversity and background, and just to give you a sense of that diversity, I've got people that were PAs, people that have been programmers, that have been accountants and transferred in, psych background, consulting background. So again, there's a lot of transferable skills that can be relevant to a marketing career. And I think at any point in your career, you can make the choice to focus down on marketing, and still all of your experience will be relevant and have a role to play. And again, bring in your whole self, what you're passionate about, your experience, your training and skills. That makes you uniquely you. And I think more and more organizations are really appreciating the uniqueness of each individual and what they can bring to their company.
And just extending on Rochelle's point as well is, I love to see diversity in ages, ethnicity, neurotypes even, we need introverts, we need extroverts, and there's so much research to demonstrate that diversity of thinking, diversity of experiences, diversity of backgrounds really do help with supporting very strong marketing teams. So if you've got a potential background that's very left of centre, don't downplay that, because there's definitely an important place for everybody, I think, on those broader teams.
I might just comment on that also. As recently as yesterday, I was talking to a global sales manager, and they're facing the challenge of moving sales digitally. But the point was made, I can't afford to have my sales team lose their interpersonal skills, because they know the customer will still come into contact to actually make that sale happen. So digital is great, but that global sales manager was saying, how do I actually keep that interpersonal skill, that marketing connection in an age of technology? Because they'd realized as an organization that it really comes down to that interpersonal interaction quite often. And the challenge, I guess, for young marketers is that they often are technology focused and lose the capacity to sell themselves. And marketing really is about selling oneself to a client and to the marketplace. So for Generation Y and X, maybe get off your phone and start talking to a few more people. That would be my challenge to young marketers. Learn how to interact with each other.
And Aaron, to support that point, I think we've done, when I reflect on the last 6 months of the pandemic taking a hold, we as an organisation done an incredible job of moving to virtual. You know, all these labs that we used to deliver face to face and events, we've rethought them and delivered them in a virtual environment. But we cannot replicate that networking, that we cannot replicate that human to human aspect. It's just not the same virtually. So I agree with you. That's a really important skill to develop. It can feel unnatural, it can be challenging, but it's really necessary for a future marketer.
Great, thank you. Well, that was really interesting, and I think for me as a young person, it was a really important lesson to hear as well. So we have time for one more question today. So I'd like to draw on all of your experience within the industry and within Macquarie for Professor Okas. What's in line with all of these challenges and skills that we've spoken about being necessary? What's one piece of advice you would like to leave our postgrad marketing students with? What's the most important thing for them to know in terms of advancing their career in this industry?
Good question. I'll go first. My one piece of advice, really enjoy this moment, you know, immerse yourself in your studies. It's an incredible opportunity to be with some of the leading experts, to understand the latest theory, to build communities of like-minded thinkers. So immerse. Don't feel too anxious to move straight into the next role, and use that moment in between to truly understand yourself. So I think one of the greatest investments you can make is in self-awareness. Really understand what drives you, what's attracted you to marketing in the first place. What do you want your career to look like? And how do you get yourself there? But I think really taking this time in between before you go out into the career world and then suddenly you just get caught up in inertia. Take the time, understand yourself, what really makes you tick and what's really going to be a fulfilling career for you. And I think that investment will pay you back in folds as you move through your career.
I think it's beautiful. I love that. For me also, we mentioned curiosity. So keep being curious, keep on leaning into your education. But another thing to just really reflect on is tenacity. So especially as we're going into really hard times and recession, and it's not going to be easy, you know, it's not going to be the times of 10 years ago where you sort of walked out with a degree and you sort of would land a job straight away. There's a lot of very talented people in the market that are currently looking. So being tenacious, looking at where you can actually even get some pro bono work to, you know, make sure you're developing networks. There's a great saying which success leaves clues. Keep looking at what people are doing and what's made them successful. Rochelle and I both shared the fact that our journeys aren't linear, that we've actually, taken quite different roads, and we've, pivoted at different points, and be open to that, because I don't think the next couple of years are going to be that easy just to walk into something. So start thinking about, if you're going to be graduating in a year's time, start thinking about what is that future role look like for you, and start making networks, start asking, start researching, and then know that, you might actually apply for 50 jobs and get one, and be okay with that. Because once you're on the journey, it's really exciting and fantastic, but it's going to take work. And but that's why you're listening to this webinar now, is because you're ready to take the challenge. But it is going to be a challenge, but the reward is definitely worth it.
I think the issues raised today really send a signal for potential marketers, those who want to start their career, advance their career. Everyone's in the same boat, so to speak. And I'm similar to the panelists today. I come from a different background. I moved into marketing out of happenstance, in a sense that products I invented were failing and the company moved me in to try and sell them. I came from a Defence Force background in engineering, so I've had a varied career. As an academic and as a potential student myself, I had a view that, again, like Louise said, be persistent. Not everything is easy, and the things that you work out harder are often where you make the most benefit from. My approach in dealing with students and advising is 2 key criteria. Be passionate, but be compassionate also, because you will encounter other students who will graduate, you're building your network, and that compassion is something people remember. The other thing that really was glaring recently at an orientation was a young student who was an exceptional student, coming from a very poor background, said, I go to every class, even if it's boring. And that demonstrated persistence, but also consistency. Marketers that are successful are consistent over time. And she picked up a job, a very, very rewarding job, because of her passion, because of her consistency. So I think whether it's in industry or study, those key characteristics are traits that we really need to hone and maximize our potential with. As Louise and Rochelle are saying, it's a dynamic area, it's changing rapidly, and those that succeed are those that are consistently applying their work experience, their training, whatever it is, to solve real problems that organisations and consumers face. But that passion with compassion is the key in the end.
Great, thank you all so much. That's all that we have time for today. I want to first of all say a massive thank you to our panel for sharing their insights into marketing careers and their industry experience with us today. So just a reminder for everyone that this session is being recorded and you can review it at any time. And if you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to book a personal consultation with us. You can see the link on your screen right there. And we will arrange for you to discuss the details about our 2 postgraduate marketing courses, so the Master of Marketing and the Master of Commerce with a marketing specialization. You can have a discussion with these with our course director. Thank you.